Hi guys, Rena from Bandit the Diva, and in this video I am going to be telling you the do's and don'ts if you encounter a service animal out in public. I'm mainly doing this video because not many people actually are aware of them and end up doing the wrong thing, which is very dangerous. As you guys all know, I have one, which she's asleep. So, let's get on to the video. Alright. And then that part I can cut off. So, I'll be starting off with the don'ts first. Number 1, touch the dog without asking permission. This actually goes for any animal, not just service animals. If you see a random dog and you don't know it, don't walk up to it, because you don't know if they're aggressive. But for the case for service animals, don't touch it. Don't touch the dog, because it definitely is a major distraction and may prevent them from tending to their human, which not good. So yes, and you'll definitely see what I mean in this skit that I'll be showing right now. Number 2 is offering food. This is another major thing that I have seen happen, and I've actually had it happen to me before. You don't ever want to offer food to any animal in general, because you don't know if they're on a diet or something. But in the case for service animals, according to Canine Companions for Independence, food is the ultimate distraction to a working dog and can jeopardize the working assistant team. Not only are food and treats a distraction, but usually service animals are on a specific diet and also usually on a specific schedule. So offering food or treats could ruin that. And not only is that dangerous for the human because you're distracting the animal, but it also could be dangerous for the animal itself, because they could be on a specific diet for a specific reason.
You do know she's asleep, right?
It is entirely appropriate and natural for her to sleep, since I am sitting for a long period of time.
Alright, but she's working, so...
Even working dogs take naps. It may look like she's napping, but she's still working.
Alright.
Number 3, don't ever assume a napping service dog is off duty. So if you're walking around, let's say a store, and you see someone standing there and the dog looks like it's napping, because it probably is, that doesn't mean it's not working. It's still working. It's just the handler is standing for long periods of time. Usually if the handler is standing or sitting for long periods of time, it is entirely natural and appropriate for the service dog to catch a few winks.
Is she alright?
She's fine.
Isn't she miserable?
No. She's working. She's focused. She gets to be a regular dog, if that's what you're thinking, at home, out of her work clothes. But when we're out and about, she has to be focused.
Okay. Cut.
Last but not least, number 4. That's a 4. 4. Don't assume a working dog don't ever be able to, be regular dogs. They do, but that's typically at home when they're not in their work clothes. The owner will play with them. They get to do whatever a natural dog does. But when they're out and about in their work clothes, that's when they're working, and they don't get to be a regular dog. So, yeah. Hey, did you hear that they added Ho-Oh into the raid battles?
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, they re-added him, so you have a chance to get a shiny.
Thanks.
How many times have you battled him yet?
Only once.
Got away.
Yeah. Kept freaking getting out of the ball.
Yeah, same issue. I battled him 5 times already.
Even tried giving him a raspberry, a golden raspberry, even a panaberry.
Now, on to the do's. Here are some tips on what to do if you do ever encounter a service dog team, which is the handler and the animal. So these will help you with what to do if you do encounter one. Number 1 is speak to the handler, not the dog. The service dog and handler are a team. Speak to the person and not the dog. Remember, the dog is working and their handler's life could depend on it. Like, if you're talking to the dog, you could be distracting them. And that's a big no. Distracting the dog could be very dangerous for the handler. So just speak to the handler and not the animal. Number 2, keep your own dog or pet, whatever you are walking, away from a working dog. Obviously. So, if you ever run into a working team with your pet, do not allow them to approach the service animal without first talking to the handler. Other animals are an obvious distraction to working animals, and in worst case scenario, there could be aggression between the two animals. Now, typically service animals are trained not to be aggressive, but if the other dog, like, say, your dog, shows aggression to the service animal, usually the service animal will show aggression back, because not only are they trained to do specific tasks, but they are also very protective over their handlers, because they know that their handler has, something going on with them, and it's their job to protect them. So, when talking to someone who has a service animal, one thing you never want to bring up in a conversation is their disability. Don't ever ask about it, like, why do you need the dog and stuff? Because some of them are really hard to tell what they are trained for. So, we will show an example of what to do and what not to do. First, what not to do.
What kind of disability do you have?
I don't want to discuss it. That's what not to do. Because there are people who don't feel comfortable discussing that. But then again, you also might get lucky and run into someone who's open about it. But don't ever bring it up. If they bring it up, that's fine. Here's what to do. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Just running some errands and stuff. Yeah. So that's what you do. You just have a casual conversation. Act as if the dog's not even there. Act as if the dog is, invisible. Act like the handler is a regular person. Number 3, treat the handler with respect. While you're talking to them, please treat them with respect and do not ask questions, like personal questions about their disability, because usually they don't feel comfortable giving out that information. And if you do, that is very disrespectful and intrusion of privacy. So, yeah. And don't think that you guys are left out. Workers also have to follow this too. They cannot ask the handler what their disability is. They need to ask if the dog is a service animal and if it does have specific tasks it was trained. Now, really, you don't exactly need to, per se, but it's usually best to describe if the task the dog does for you. So yes. Yes.
She's approaching me.
Oh. No. Sit. Last but not least, number 4. Inform the handler if the working animal approaches you. Like, if the service dog approaches you, starts to sniff you, etc. Do not respond to the dog. Inform the handler and they will correct them. Because if you're trying to tell them to go and trying to give them a command, no, it could confuse the dog and you don't want to do that. The dog is trained to take commands specifically from the handler and not from anyone else. So if it's getting a command from someone that's not their handler, it will confuse the animal and that could have some serious consequences. So, yeah. I hope these were helpful for you. There's a few others I could mention, but obviously it doesn't just go for service animals. I swear she's in there. She's in there. Bandit. She's sleeping. Obviously, these don't just go for service animals. This can go for, like, any dog. Some of the obvious ones, like, don't ever rush up to a dog. It could freak them out. Don't ever tug on the leash. Don't ever push the handler or owner to get to the dog, so on and so forth. Don't ever do that. If you ever see that, someone that's using a service animal, like in a store or a restaurant, don't give eye contact to the dog. Don't even usually act as if the dog is not there. Don't pay attention to the dog. Don't even ask questions about the dog. It's very rude, disrespectful, and usually the handler doesn't usually want to answer a lot of questions. And normally, if you do see someone and you do want to talk to them, again, just talk to the handler and don't get upset if they say, no, I don't, basically if they don't want to talk, because usually they don't want to talk to someone, usually because they feel it might cause a scene, that a lot of other people's going to come over and they're going to want to talk, and usually it's just best not to even actually start conversation with the handler. Now, if they approach you and they want to, have a conversation with you, that's a different story. But don't approach them, because usually they don't want to do that, because they're usually there to get what they need and get out. So, on the other hand, here are some service animals that are around. There are seeing eye dogs, or commonly known as lead dogs, which help the visually impaired or blind navigate. There's epileptic detection dogs, meaning they are seizure detection dogs, so they can detect if their handler is going to have a seizure and get them to safety. There are diabetic detection dogs, meaning they can tell if someone who's diabetic, if their blood sugar is too high or too low, based off of their breath. There's also detection dogs, such as like what Bandit is. There's also the military dogs, there's police dogs, there's many different types of work dogs. And all of them you must treat with respect. There's also many different types of service animals too, like miniature horses, dogs, cats, birds, snakes. I've seen snakes as service animals. But the more common ones are dogs. But you can get a cat or a miniature horse or bird as a service animal if they are trained for a specific task. But I hope this video was helpful. I know it's probably not the greatest, but hey, I tried. Hopefully this information you found helpful, and please be respectful to everyone. And there's not much I could say. Bye.